I still sleep with my ex whenever she's out of town, my fiancé bragged on the phone to his friend. This idiot even accepted the proposal. He didn't know I was standing in the hallway listening. I didn't say a word. The next morning, I took the ring and left a receipt from the pawn shop. Along with a note, hope your ex can afford to buy it back. He's been begging me to take me back ever since. Hello everyone. Thank you for being here with me today. Before I begin my story, I'd love to know which city you're joining us from. Please feel free to share in the comments. Now, let me take you into this story. It's funny how life can be moving along, just perfect, like a picture postcard. You think you have it all. The perfect job, the perfect home, the perfect man. You think you've built this beautiful, sturdy house, and then you find out, in just 30 seconds, that the whole thing was built on quicksand. It's been a while now, but I still think about that day. 1 month. It's been exactly 1 month since my life, the life I knew, just imploded. 1 month since I found out that the man I was planning to spend the rest of my days with, the man I loved, saw me as nothing more than a punchline. A joke to tell his friends. 1 month since I did what I did. And now, I'm sitting here, in a new place, wondering, did I go too far? Or did I not go far enough? Let me back up. My name is Brenda. And for the last 10 years, my life has been my work. I'm a forensic accountant. It's not as glamorous as it sounds on TV. Mostly, it's just me, a mountain of spreadsheets, and a hunt for numbers that don't add up. I find stories in spreadsheets. I find the lies people try to hide in their bank records. I'm good at it. Very good. I find the needle in the haystack of fraud. But it's a brutal schedule. My company handles high-stakes corporate fraud cases, which means I'm on the road constantly. 3, sometimes 4 days a week, I'm living out of a suitcase. Airports, rental cars, sterile hotel rooms. The money is good, I won't lie. My salary is well into the 6 figures. But the lifestyle is lonely. It's hard to build a life when you're always checking a flight schedule. You miss birthdays. You miss dinners. You live your life through your phone. That's where Keith came in. We met 3 years ago. It was one of those things. I was testifying as an expert witness in a big fraud case. He was the prosecutor. Keith, oh, Keith. He wasn't just handsome. He had that courtroom charisma. He was smart, ambitious, and he could command a room just by walking into it. He made me feel seen. He said he understood my work ethic, that he was proud of me. He said my drive was what he loved most. Most men are intimidated by you, Brenda, he told me on our 3rd date, over pasta. They see your briefcase and your sharp mind and they run. I'm just impressed. That line. It got me. After a year, we moved in together. A nice split-level condo downtown. He was on his way to a promotion at the DA's office. I was making partner. We were that couple. The ones our friends pointed to. We'd host dinner parties where he'd hold court, telling courtroom stories, and I'd just watch him, my heart feeling so full it could burst. We'd go window shopping for houses in the suburbs, pointing out gardens and talking about where we'd put a nursery, maybe even starting a college fund for the kids we'd have someday. He was my rock. Or so I thought. 6 months ago, he proposed. We were at our favorite Italian restaurant, the one in the little brick building on Market Street. It's called Bella Notte. We always sat at the same table, the one in the corner by the window, draped in a red and white checkered cloth. It was a Tuesday, nothing special. I was wearing a simple black dress, my hair pulled back. I was tired, rambling on about a case, some executive who was funding his gambling habit with company money. And I looked up, and he was just smiling at me. That slow, warm smile that always made me feel like I was the only person in the room. What? I asked, laughing a little. Do I have marinara on my face? No, he said, and his voice was suddenly soft. He reached across the table and took my hand. Brenda. I was just listening to you. And I was thinking. I want to listen to you talk about spreadsheets and fraud for the rest of my life. And right there, he slid out of the booth and got down on one knee. The whole restaurant went quiet. I felt my face flush hot. I could hear a fork drop on the other side of the room. My heart just stopped. He pulled out this black velvet box. He opened it. My God. I am not even a big diamond person. But this was breathtaking. It was a 2-carat, princess-cut diamond. It wasn't just big, it was clear. Like ice. Platinum band. Custom design. He told me later, his voice thick with pride, that it had cost him nearly 3 months' salary. Brenda Johnson, he said, his eyes locked on mine. You are the smartest, strongest, most beautiful woman I have ever known. Will you marry me? I cried. I ugly cried, right there in front of everyone. I couldn't even speak. I just nodded, and the whole restaurant burst into applause. I said yes, of course. I said it was perfect. He slid it onto my finger, and it felt so heavy, so permanent. He said I was perfect. And I believed him. I believed every single word. That night, we went home and we talked for hours. We planned our whole lives. We'd get married in the fall, maybe at that vineyard upstate. He'd get his promotion. We'd start looking for a house after the wedding. Everything was laid out, a perfect, beautiful blueprint. That perfect picture. That perfect blueprint. It was all a lie. Last month, I was scheduled for a typical 3-day trip to Seattle. Client meetings, reviewing discovery documents, the usual. My flight was at 10 a.m. I'm an early riser, so I was up at 5 a.m. I remember the morning perfectly. The sky was that pale, gray color it gets before the sun really breaks through. The air was cool. I was rushing, trying to get my suitcase zipped. It was one of those mornings where everything goes wrong. My zipper snagged. I couldn't find my other black pump, and I found it under the bed, covered in dust bunnies. I was getting frustrated, huffing and puffing. Keith was still in bed, just a lump under the comforter. Or so I thought. I kissed him on the forehead. He mumbled something, have a safe flight, love you. I finally got my bag zipped, grabbed my laptop case, and hurried down to the garage. I put my suitcase in the trunk, got in the driver's seat, and just took a deep breath. 8:30 a.m. I was cutting it a little close for a 10 a.m. flight. The airport would be a zoo. I was about to start the car when my phone buzzed. It was my client. David. Brenda, he said, and his voice sounded terrible. Strained. Bad news. Our CFO, he had a heart attack overnight. He's in surgery at Harborview. Oh my God, I said. Is he? He's stable, they think. But obviously, everything is off. All meetings are postponed. Indefinitely. I'm so sorry, I know you were already on your way. David, don't you dare apologize, I said. That's awful. Please, just keep me updated. Send his family my best. We hung up. And just like that, my trip was cancelled. My first feeling was honestly relief. No airport security, no recycled air, no sterile hotel room. But then, right after, I felt this little spark of excitement. A long weekend. An unexpected, 3-day weekend with Keith. We hadn't had one of those in months. I could make him breakfast. I'd stop and get those expensive groceries, the good bacon. We could go for a hike, maybe drive out to the coast. The possibilities just unfolded in my mind, a little gift from the universe. I got out of the car, grabbed my suitcase from the trunk, and texted him from the garage. Trip cancelled. CFO had a heart attack. Coming back upstairs. Surprise! No response. That wasn't unusual. He was probably in the shower. He sings horribly in the shower, usually some 80s rock ballad, completely off-key. It's one of those stupid little things you love about someone. I smiled, thinking I'd probably walk into a terrible rendition of Livin' on a Prayer. I opened the door from the garage into the lower level of our condo. It's a split-level design. You enter on the bottom floor, and the main living area, the kitchen, the bedroom, it's all up one flight of stairs. I shut the garage door, the motor humming behind me. The house was quiet. No. Not quite. I could hear the whir of the bathroom fan. He was in the shower. Perfect. I was going to sneak in and surprise him. I started up the stairs, dragging my suitcase. It thumped on each carpeted step. Thump. 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 As I got to the top landing, I heard his voice. He was on the phone. And he was laughing. It was a laugh I knew well, that deep, full-bodied laugh. But this one felt different. It didn't sound happy. It sounded sharp. Mean. He was in the bedroom, and the bathroom fan was humming, so he was speaking loudly, trying to be heard. He always took calls on speakerphone when he was getting ready for work, balancing his phone on the dresser while he put on his tie. I was about to call out, surprise! I'm home! My mouth was literally open to form the words. But then I heard my name. And I froze. My hand was on the railing. My suitcase was still resting on the step below me. I was standing in the hallway, just out of his line of sight from the bedroom. He wouldn't see me unless he walked out. I just stood there. Listening. I'm telling you, Stanley, Keith said. I recognized the other voice now. It was his college friend, Stanley. A guy I'd met maybe 5 times. I never liked him. He was a sleazy financial broker type who always looked at me like I was a spreadsheet, not a person. He made some off-color jokes at our housewarming party, something about my salary and how Keith had hit the jackpot. I'd told Keith I didn't like him. Keith had just laughed and said, "Oh, Stan's harmless." Brenda? God, she has no idea. None, Keith said, and he laughed again. That sharp, ugly laugh. My blood went cold. What did I have no idea about? A surprise party? A gift? And then he said it. The sentence that broke my world in two. I still sleep with Deborah whenever she's out of town. The hallway tilted. I had to grip the railing to stay upright. The air just evaporated. Stanley's voice crackled over the speaker. Shut up. You do not. You're engaged, man. I absolutely do, Keith continued, and his voice, my God, his voice was dripping with this smug pride. It was bragging. Deborah and I have an arrangement. It's the perfect setup. Brenda's gone so often, she's so focused on her career, she doesn't suspect a thing. I get the stability, the nice condo. I mean, she pays half of everything with that big shot salary of hers. And Deborah? Deborah gets the fun without the commitment. It's perfect. Deborah. His ex-girlfriend from before we met. The one he told me was just a friend. The one he swore he was over. The one he'd met for coffee just to catch up 2 months ago. I had been out of town. In Chicago. My stomach turned over. I felt a wave of nausea so strong I thought I was going to be sick, right there on the beige carpet. "Man, you are so bad," Stanley squealed, like a teenager, clearly delighted by this gossip. "But what about the ring? You proposed, man. That's serious." There was a pause. I could hear the clink of his cufflinks, the sounds of him getting ready. Like this was just normal. Just another Tuesday. "Oh, the ring," Keith said, his voice dropping into that conspiratorial tone. "You should have seen her face, Stan. This idiot, she actually cried when I proposed." Cried. Right there in the restaurant. Like it was the happiest day of her life. He laughed. A short, barking laugh. Deborah nearly pissed herself laughing when I told her. She said I deserved an Oscar. I couldn't breathe. I literally could not draw a breath. It was like the air had been sucked out of the hallway. My hand was gripping the stair railing so hard my knuckles were white. My ears were ringing. I just stood there, completely paralyzed, listening to the man I loved, the man I was going to marry, mock me. Mock my proposal. Mock my tears. Mock my entire existence, all for a cheap laugh from his worthless friend. "So, what happens when you actually have to set a wedding date?" Stanley asked. "You gonna juggle both of them?" "I'll figure something out," Keith said, his voice breezy. "Maybe a work opportunity one just can't pass up in another city. A long-distance engagement. She's used to me being busy. I don't know. I'm good at making people believe what I want them to believe." That was it. That was the moment. The pain was so sharp, so absolute, it was almost clarifying. It burned away all the love. All the memories. All the silly, off-key singing in the shower. All the plans for the house in the suburbs and the college fund. And in its place, something else rose up. It was cold. It was quiet. And it was pure, surgical rage. I didn't yell. I didn't storm in there and throw his things out the window. I didn't give him the satisfaction of seeing me hurt. I didn't want him to see my tears. He'd just laugh about them with Deborah later. I turned around, very, very slowly. I picked up my suitcase, which suddenly felt weightless. I walked back down the stairs, thump, 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 just as I had come up. But I was a different woman. The woman who had come up those stairs was in love. She was happy, excited about a surprise weekend. The woman walking down, she was an auditor. And she was about to conduct a full review. I went back to my car, got in, and silently pulled out of the garage. He probably never even heard me. I drove to a coffee shop about 5 blocks away. A generic place with bad music and burnt coffee. I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes. I didn't cry. Crying was a luxury I couldn't afford right now. Crying was for later. This was for thinking. My brain, my forensic accountant brain, just kicked in. It's what I'm trained to do. I look for fraud. I find the lie. I follow the money. I build the case. And then, I execute. I wasn't a fiancé anymore. I was an auditor. And I was about to audit Keith's entire life. I sat there and I made a plan. A 5-step plan. I actually took out a napkin and a pen from my glove box and wrote it down. 1. Secure new housing. 2. Secure my finances. 3. Liquidate his asset. 4. Remove myself. 5. Leave the findings of my audit. I went inside and ordered a black coffee. I don't even like black coffee. It tasted like ash, but I drank it. I needed the jolt. I watched the clock on my dashboard. 9:15 a.m. I knew he'd be gone. He was always in court by 9:30 a.m. Predictable. That was his weakness. He was a creature of habit. I drove back. The streets seemed too bright, the people walking their dogs too normal. It felt like I was moving underwater. I let myself into the empty condo. It already felt different. It felt contaminated. The air was stale with his lies. I went straight to our bedroom. To my jewelry box. The one he bought me for our first Christmas. A beautiful cherrywood box. I opened it. There it was. The 2-carat princess cut lie. Glistening under the light. I picked it up. It felt cold. I put it in my pocket. Then I went to my desk. I grabbed my passport, my birth certificate, and my personal external hard drive. All my financial records, my life, on one small black square. I locked the door behind me and went back to my car. First call, my best friend, Mavis. She's known me since college. She's the one who told me Keith was too smooth. I should have listened. The phone rang twice. Hey, B. I thought you were in Seattle. What's up? Did you forget something? Her voice was so cheerful, it almost made me crack. Mavis, I said, and my voice sounded flat. Empty. Even to my own ears. I need you. Her tone changed instantly. Brenda, what's wrong? What happened? Are you okay? Are you hurt? I'm not hurt. Not physically. But. Mavis, it's Keith. It's over. What? What are you talking about? You guys just send out the save the dates. I can't explain right now. I need a place to crash. For a few days, maybe a week. And I need you to not ask any questions. Not yet. I can't. Can I come over? Oh my God, she whispered. Yes. Of course. The spare room is yours. Are you sure you're okay? I'm leaving work right now. No, I said, my voice firm. Don't. Please. I need you to just be normal. I have errands to run. I'll be there this afternoon. And Mavis? Thank you. You don't know. Brenda, whatever you need, she said, her voice steady and strong. You know that. The key is under the mat. I'll stock the fridge. I love you. I love you, too, I whispered, and hung up. One errand down. Second call, my bank. I got through to the automated system, then to a representative. We had one joint account for household expenses, but our main finances, our salaries, were separate. Thank God. I need to make a transfer, I said, my voice all business. From my joint checking account into my personal savings account. I transferred my half of the joint account out, leaving exactly enough to cover the next month's mortgage and utilities. No more, no less. I wasn't going to be cruel. I was going to be precise. I also set up an alert to notify me of any large withdrawals. Third call, my landlord. We were renting the condo. I explained, in a calm, flat voice, that I needed to be removed from the lease, effective immediately. Ms. Johnson, the contract requires 6 months penalty, he said, his voice bored. I understand, I said. However, I'm leaving due to irreconcilable domestic issues. I'm willing to pay a 2-month penalty, in full, right now, from my personal account. Or, we can involve my lawyer. I'm sure he'd be very interested in the faulty wiring in the kitchen I've mentioned 3 times. I didn't have a lawyer, but he didn't need to know that. There was a pause. I could hear him typing. 2 months, you say? Paid today? Yes. I'll have the paperwork ready. 3 errands down. Now for the 4th. The big one. The symbolic one. I googled pawnshops near me. I didn't want to go anywhere close, anywhere he might know. I found one about 30 minutes away, in a part of town I never visited. The drive there was a blur. I don't remember the music. I don't remember the traffic. I just remember the heavy weight of that ring in my pocket, thumping against my leg with every turn. The shop had a buzzing neon sign, cash for gold, even in the middle of the day. A bell chimed when I walked in. It smelled like dust, old cigars, and disappointment. An older man with shrewd, tired eyes looked up from his newspaper. Help you? I didn't say a word. I just put the black velvet box on the glass counter. I opened it. He whistled. A long, low whistle. Nice piece. Very nice. He picked it up with a jeweler's loupe, holding it up to the light. Recently purchased? 6 months ago, I said. My voice didn't waver. He examined it for a long time. He checked the certification papers, which I'd brought from the safe. He mumbled to himself. He tapped on an old calculator. It cost $22,000, I said. He looked up at me, over his glasses. A flicker of something. Pity? No. Just business. It might have cost that, darlin'. But it ain't worth that to me. He tapped his calculator again. I can give you $9,500. Cash. Less than half. A terrible deal. It was highway robbery. Deal, I said. This wasn't about money. This was about severing a tie. This was about converting a lie, a symbol of his betrayal, into something cold and hard and useful. He processed the paperwork, had me sign a few things, and then counted out 95 crisp, $100 bills. The cash felt dirty, but it also felt final. One more thing, I said, as he was pushing the cash toward me. I need a receipt. A detailed, itemized receipt. It has to show exactly what was sold. The 2-carat princess cut ring. And the price. $9,500. He shrugged. Your money. Whatever you want, lady. He typed it up on an old dot matrix printer. The zzzztzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzz sound was the only noise in the shop. He tore it off and handed it to me. I folded it neatly and put it in my wallet, right next to my driver's license. By the time I returned to his condo, it was nearly 2 p.m. Keith would be in court until at least 6 o'clock. He was in the middle of a big trial. I had plenty of time. I parked my car and went inside for the last time. This was step 5. The audit. I went to the hall closet and pulled out my empty suitcases. I packed methodically. I went through every room. I took only what was mine. My clothes. My personal items. My books. The family photos that mattered to me, the ones of my parents, my grandmother, me and Mavis at our college graduation. I took the photos right out of the frames and left the empty frames on the mantelpiece. I made 3 trips to Mavis's apartment, unloading my life in boxes into her spare room. She was at work, just as I'd asked. It was easier that way. I didn't have to talk. I didn't have to explain. I just worked. Moving boxes, carrying hangers. My arms ached. My back ached. But I didn't stop. Then I returned to the condo. It was almost empty of me. Now, for the revenge. The cold, calculated kind. The kind a forensic accountant would appreciate. This wasn't going to be loud. It was going to be precise. Psychological. I wanted him to question everything. I wanted him to feel that same sickening, dizzying feeling I felt when the floor dropped out from under me. First, the digital world. Our shared cloud storage. The place we kept all our photos. Vacations to Italy. Christmas with his family. Silly selfies in the park. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and logged in. I downloaded everything that was mine. Every photo of me, my family, my friends. Then, I systematically deleted every single photo of us together. The one of him kissing me on the cheek at Bella Notte, the night he proposed. Gone. The one of us laughing on the beach in Mexico. Gone. Every vacation. Every holiday. Every memory. Gone. I left his solo photos untouched. He could have his history. But our history was erased. Next, our shared calendar. It was filled with our future. Wedding venue visits. Caterer tastings. We even had pick out a puppy scheduled for next month. I felt a sharp pang at that one. But I pushed it down. I deleted nothing. Instead, I added to it. I added a new, all-day event for the following week, consultation with Dr. Allen Fertility Clinic. We had never discussed fertility clinics. I added another one, 3 days after that, second consultation with divorce lawyer. I dated it for 2 weeks in the past. Let him wonder how long I'd been planning this. Let him wonder what else he didn't know. Let him think he was the one who was blind. Next, the kitchen. He had this favorite bottle of scotch. A $300 Macallan he was saving for a special occasion. He'd gotten it as a gift when he won a big case. I opened it. I poured exactly 1 glass and left it on the kitchen counter. Then, I took my cheapest, brightest red lipstick from my purse, the one he said he hated, said it made me look tacky. I pressed a perfect, full lip print onto the rim of the glass. An impossible detail, since I'd been in Seattle all day. A message that would make him question his own reality. Who had been in his house? Who was he really dealing with? Then, I went to his home office. His work laptop. He always left it unlocked, trusting me completely. The irony. He was a prosecutor, building cases against criminals. And he was the biggest fraud I'd ever met. I accessed his email. I drafted a new message. To his boss. The district attorney. And the entire prosecutor's office email list. Subject, my big news. I wrote a detailed, professional announcement. About his immediate, indefinite leave of absence. Effective immediately. He cited urgent personal legal matters and a compromised ethical situation that required his full attention and made it impossible for him to continue his duties. I didn't send it. I just saved it to his drafts folder. Right at the top. Where he'd see it. Where he'd find it, and his heart would stop. Where he'd panic and wonder who might have already seen it. Let him feel that cold sweat I felt. And finally, the master stroke. His big case. The one he'd been preparing for weeks. The one he said was a slam dunk. The one he was counting on for his promotion. His meticulous notes, his carefully organized evidence, his witness outlines. He had them in binders on his desk, ready for court tomorrow. I didn't destroy them. That would be too obvious. Too messy. I rearranged them. I'm a forensic accountant. I'm an expert in organization. And disorganization. I took page 27 of his opening statement and filed it in the middle of a witness transcript from a different witness. I took Exhibit C, the financial records, and filed it under witness tampering. I swapped the dates on 2 different police reports. I didn't do it randomly. I did it with precision. Just enough to throw off his rhythm. Just enough to make him second-guess his own preparation when he was under pressure in court. Enough to make him look like an incompetent, disorganized fool in front of the judge, the jury, and his boss. Small things. Precise things. Things that would scream to him, with terrifying clarity, "I know everything. And I am just as meticulous as you are." I was done. The audit was complete. I went into the bedroom for the last time. I took the original, black velvet ring box. I placed the itemized pawn shop receipt inside it. The receipt for $9,500. I had done it. Every file, every photo, every precisely targeted strike was in place. And now, for the final act, leaving the note. But before I tell you what I wrote, before I tell you what happened when he found it, what happened when that first frantic phone call came through, I just want to stop for a second. If you are still listening to me, right here, right now, if you've been on this ride with me, feeling that ice in your veins, will you do me a favor? Please, help me by liking this video, and just comment the number 1 below. Just the number 1. It lets me know that you're out there, that you're truly amazing for listening. It lets me know that you're walking this path with me. Your support is a bigger encouragement than you can possibly imagine. It lets me know I'm not just talking into the void. So please, just comment the number 1 so I can see you. And now, let me tell you what I did next. The final flourish. I took a sticky note from his desk. A yellow one. And I wrote 4 words on it. Hope your ex can afford it. I stuck the note to the pawn shop receipt. I placed the receipt inside the black velvet ring box. I left the box on his pillow. Right where he couldn't miss it. I left my key on the kitchen counter, next to the lipstick-stained glass of scotch. And I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I pulled it shut, quietly. The click of the lock felt like the end of a sentence. I didn't look back. I drove to Mavis's. I let myself in with the key under the mat. Her spare room was quiet, clean. She'd left fresh towels on the bed and a bottle of water. I sat on the bed. I didn't unpack. I just sat. The adrenaline that had been pumping through me for hours just vanished. And I was left, feeling hollow. Empty. Mavis got home around 6:30. She just came in, took one look at my face, and didn't say a word. She just hugged me. A long, long hug. And that's when I finally broke. I didn't just cry. I sobbed. I ugly cried, just like I had at the restaurant, but for the opposite reason. I cried for the woman I was 6 hours ago, the one who was excited about a surprise weekend. I cried for the idiot I'd been. Mavis just held me. "I've got you," she kept saying. "I've got you. It's going to be okay." After I couldn't cry anymore, she said, "I made soup." "Thank you," I said. My voice was a wreck. We sat on her couch, in our pajamas, eating tomato soup and grilled cheese. Comfort food. We didn't talk about it. We just sat. And I waited. I didn't block his number. Oh, no. I wanted to hear it. I wanted to watch the performance. I wanted every text, every voicemail. I put my phone on the coffee table between us, face up. The first call came at 7:23 p.m. I looked at the screen. Keith. Mavis looked at me. I just shook my head. I let it ring. And ring. And ring. It went to voicemail. Immediately, a text message. "Where are you? Brenda, this isn't funny. What is this receipt?" I looked at the text. I took a calm sip of soup. Mavis just watched, her eyes wide. "Is this some kind of joke?" Your stuff is gone. Where are you? Call me right now. Brenda. Pick up the phone. The phone rang again. I silenced it. Voicemail. Mavis and I sat there, and I played the voicemail on speaker. Brenda, I swear to God, whatever you think you heard, you misunderstood. You always do this, you're overreacting. Call me. You can't just leave like this. I always do this? The audacity. Baby, please, what did I do? Just talk to me. What's going on? That note, the pawn shop, what does that mean? The ring is gone. Brenda, please, you're scaring me. The calendar. The lawyer? Brenda, a divorce lawyer? What is this? You've been seeing a lawyer behind my back? And the fertility clinic? What is going on? My case files. What did you do to my files, you psycho? You. And my laptop, the email draft, did you send it? Did you send it? You've ruined me. You've ruined my career. I'll have you arrested. The voicemail cut off. He'd run out of time. Mavis just looked at me. Brenda, what did you do? And I told her. I told her everything. From the moment I walked up the stairs to the moment I walked out. When I was finished, she was quiet for a long time. Then she just raised her soup spoon. To forensic accounting, she said. By midnight, he had left 17 voicemails and 34 texts. They ranged from begging, to crying, to threatening to call the police, to accusing me of being insane. I listened to every single message. I read every single text. And I responded to none of them. I just deleted them, one by one. The next day, he showed up at my office. I had anticipated this. I'd already had a quiet word with security that morning. My ex-fiancé, Keith, may try to contact me. He is unstable. Please do not let him up. If he makes a scene, please call the police. They escorted him out of the lobby. He was screaming my name. My coworkers told me about it later. They said it was unhinged. He went to Mavis's apartment. He pounded on the door. Mavis answered. She's 5'2", but she's tougher than anyone I know. Keith, she said, blocking the door. You need to leave. Now. Mavis, let me in. I know she's in there. She's ruined my life. She's crazy. No, Keith, Mavis said, her voice like steel. You did that all by yourself. You're trespassing. If you don't leave this property in the next 10 seconds, I'm calling the police. And as a prosecutor, you know exactly how that will look on a report. He left. He called my parents. They're retired in Florida. I'd already called them. Mom, Dad. It's over with Keith. He was unfaithful. I'm safe, I'm with Mavis. But he might call you. Please, just don't get involved. My mother, who is a sweet Southern lady, apparently told him, Keith, honey, you reap what you sow, do not call this house again. He was persistent. I'll give him that. He sent emails to my work account, messages on every social platform. He even had flowers delivered to my office with these long, tear-stained notes. It was a misunderstanding. You're the only one I love. Please, just talk to me. I threw them in the trash. A week passed. I maintained complete silence. I focused on work. I had to. I buried myself in spreadsheets. It was the only place that made sense. Numbers don't lie. I found a new apartment, a small one-bedroom across town. It was small, and the walls were thin, but it was mine. I spent the weekend painting the walls a pale green. Mavis brought over pizza and wine, and we built my IKEA bookshelf. It was okay. I was functioning. But at night, I'd just sit on the floor of my new, empty living room and stare at the wall. I'd pick up my phone to check the time and see his old, deleted number. I'd try to cook dinner and end up burning the toast, and then just cry over the smoking toaster. I was a wreck. Mavis was worried. She said one night, as we were watching some dumb reality show. You're not eating. You're not sleeping. Don't you think you should at least hear him out? What if there's some explanation? What explanation, Mavis? I asked, my voice flat. What explanation could possibly justify what he said? That he bragged about it? That he laughed about my tears with his ex? She shrugged. I don't know. People say stupid things. Especially to impress idiot friends. I hate seeing you this, cold. Cold is safe, I said. Cold is logical. Warm got me laughed at. I dismissed it. The evidence was clear. His words had been unambiguous. My audit was closed. Then, 10 days after I left, everything changed. I was at work, trying to untangle a particularly messy case of embezzlement. An email popped up in my personal inbox. I almost deleted it. The sender was Judith.R. I didn't recognize it. But the subject line made me freeze. Subject, you need to know the truth about Keith. I clicked it. My heart was pounding. Brenda, it began, you don't know me well. I'm Stanley's wife, Judith. We met at the DA's Christmas party. I need to tell you something. I was in the other room when Keith was on the phone with Stanley that day. I heard everything. And Brenda, what he said wasn't true. He's never slept with Deborah. He couldn't have. Deborah moved to Australia 5 years ago. Before you and Keith even met. She's married to a woman. They just adopted a baby in Sydney. I know because I still follow her on Instagram. We were in the same study group in college. He was lying. He was lying to Stanley. I know my husband. I know that entire friend group. They're toxic. They're all either getting divorced or cheating on their wives, and they brag about it like it's a sport. Keith. I think he was just trying to seem cool and rebellious to them. He was trying to fit in. He's always been insecure around them. What he did was wrong. It was horrible and stupid and cruel. But it wasn't what you think. He never cheated on you. He just lied about it. Which is still terrible, but it's different. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't tell you. He's been a wreck, and Stanley told me he's been trying to tell you this, but you won't talk to him. I thought you should know. I stared at the screen for a long, long time. The words just swam. He didn't cheat. He just pretended he did. The floor dropped out from under me for the second time in 2 weeks. My auditor brain took over again. Trust, but verify. I spent the next 3 hours on a deep dive. Social media. Public records. I found her. Deborah. In Sydney, Australia. Her profile was public. Photos of her and her wife, Sarah. Photos of their new baby, a little boy named Finn. Photos going back years. Wedding photos from 2018. Before I'd even met Keith. Judith was telling the truth. He hadn't been in the same country as her since before we met. I even found Deborah's email through a mutual college connection. I sent a message. Deborah, my name is Brenda. I was, Keith's fiancé. I have a strange question. Are you in contact with him? Have you seen him recently? Her reply came back in an hour. The time difference worked in my favor. Brenda? Wow, blast from the past. Keith? No, I haven't seen him in at least 5 years, not since I moved to Sydney. We're Instagram friends, that's about it. Why? Is he okay? I told her. Briefly. Her response, he said what? That's absolutely insane. I'm married. To a woman. We have a son. Oh my God, Brenda, I am so sorry. He's clearly got issues. Please tell me you didn't believe him? I just sat there. Stunned. I called Judith. She answered on the first ring. She confirmed her email. She said Keith had been trying to maintain this bad boy image with his college friends for years. She said he'd admitted the truth in a breakdown to Stanley 2 days after I left, after he'd been served a notice of probation at work because of the rearranged files incident. Everything I thought I knew shifted. Again. He hadn't betrayed me with his body. He hadn't given his heart to someone else. He just pretended he had. He had mocked me, belittled me, disrespected our entire relationship, not for another woman, but for a joke. To impress Stanley. A man who still thinks beer pong is a personality trait. And in a strange, twisted way, that felt almost worse. It was so pointless. It was so pathetic. He valued a cheap laugh from an idiot more than my heart. More than our future. More than the truth. He had destroyed our relationship for nothing. I still didn't contact him. But I did check in with Mavis. I told her. She was quiet for a long time. So, what does this change? She asked. I don't know, I said honestly. I just don't know. Mavis told me he was still sending messages. Begging for a chance to explain this. To explain the lie about the lie. According to her, he was a wreck. The case he was working on, the one whose files I rearranged, had gone terribly. He'd appeared disorganized, unprepared. His boss, the one who was considering him for a promotion, had expressed serious concern about his mental state and put him on formal probation. Part of me felt vindicated. The cold, calculated way he spoke about me deserved a response in kind. But another part, a smaller, quieter part, wondered. My reaction was based on infidelity. But the crime wasn't infidelity. The crime was a profound, fundamental, and pathetic lack of respect. A betrayal of trust, absolutely. But not of fidelity. I had destroyed a 3-year relationship, a planned future. I had dismantled his professional life. Did the real crime warrant such an absolute punishment? It's been a month now. I've signed the lease on my new apartment. I've changed my phone number. I've moved on, externally at least. But those questions, they kept me up at night. Did I overreact? Or was his betrayal, different as it was, still unforgivable? I had to find out. After another 2 weeks, I decided to meet him. I'd been living in my new apartment. It was lonely. I'd try to cook dinner and end up burning the toast. I'd sit on my new sofa and just stare at the TV, not even knowing what was on. I was adrift. I needed, not him. But I needed closure. I got a new prepaid phone and sent him a text. Coffee shop. Downtown. Saturday. 2 p.m. You have 1 hour. He agreed immediately. When I arrived, he was already there. He was sitting at a small table in the corner, just staring into a coffee mug. He looked smaller, somehow. He'd lost weight, and his eyes had dark, dark circles under them. His suit, usually so sharp, looked too big for him. He looked haunted. I sat down. I didn't say anything. I just waited. "Brenda," he started, and his voice was hoarse. "Thank you for coming. I know I don't deserve it." "You have 1 hour, Keith," I said. My voice was steady. "Talk." And for the first time, I let him speak. "What I said, it was inexcusable," he began. "I have no justification that makes it okay. None. And Judith told me she emailed you. So you know. It wasn't true. I didn't. I never cheated on you, Brenda." He told me everything Judith had said. That he'd lied to Stanley because he was insecure. "Our college friends," he said, looking down at his hands. It's a disaster. Stanley's on his second divorce. Mark is cheating on his wife. All they talk about is drama, and who they're sleeping with. And my stable, loving relationship with you, a woman who is smarter than all of them combined, it made me feel boring to them. It made me feel weak. So I invented drama. I made up the most pathetic, horrible story I could think of. And it snowballed into that conversation you overheard." He was crying now. Not the hysterical sobs I'd heard on the voicemails. Just quiet, broken tears streaming down his face, into his coffee. "I never cheated on you, Brenda," he said, his voice breaking. "Not once. Not ever. I loved you completely. I still do. But I betrayed your trust in a different way. A more pathetic way. And I understand why you left." I listened. I just listened. Then I asked the question that had been haunting me. "If you valued their opinions so much that you would disrespect me to impress them, how could our relationship ever work, Keith?" He looked down. "It wouldn't," he admitted, his voice quiet. "It couldn't. I've spent every day since you left, realizing how twisted my priorities were. How empty those friendships are. I've cut ties with Stanley. With that entire group. I told them. What I did, and why, and that I was done. I started therapy, Brenda. The day after the incident with my files. I'm trying to understand why. Why I would sabotage something so precious, for validation from people who don't actually care about me." He also addressed the revenge. "My audit. You're very good at what you do," he said, with a quiet, bitter smile. "My forensic accountant. He told me the rearranged case files had been a catastrophe. He'd stood up in court and been completely lost. He looked like a fool. His boss had put him on probation. The promotion was gone. He said he was almost glad. He said it woke him up. The draft email I'd left, he said he'd had a full-blown panic attack when he found it, thinking his career was over in a single click. The Scotch glass with the lipstick, he admitted he'd installed security cameras. He'd been checking for signs of intrusion for weeks, thinking some other woman had been in the house. The irony. My calculated response had hit every single target. Perfectly. We talked for the full hour. No raised voices. No dramatic scenes. Just two people, picking through the rubble of what we had built, and what I had torn down. At the end, I told him I forgave him. "I forgive you, Keith," I said. And I meant it. The anger, it was gone. Replaced by a kind of profound sadness. "But," I said, "forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. The trust is broken. Not because you slept with someone. But because you showed me who you are when you're trying to impress other people. You showed me that I'm disposable. That our life is just a punchline to you. I can't unknow that. I can't be with a man who respects his idiot friends more than he respects me. He nodded. He was crying too hard to speak. Then he reached into his bag. He pulled out the black velvet box. I went to the pawn shop, he said. The day after I found your note. I bought it back. He slid it across the table. It cost me almost double what you got for it. My savings. The owner, he knew I was desperate. Please, take it. I can't look at it. I looked at the box. I didn't open it. I don't want it, Keith, I said, gently. I pushed it back. You keep it. Sell it. Donate it. Throw it in the river. Whatever gives you closure. He looked at me, and I could see he finally understood. The finality in my words. We parted with a brief, awkward hug. It felt like a period at the end of a long, complicated sentence. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just finished. I moved forward. I focused on my new apartment. I painted the walls. I bought a new sofa. I started rock climbing. Something I'd always wanted to try but never made time for. I'd go to the climbing gym 3 times a week. My arms ached, but it was a good ache. It was the ache of building myself up, not being torn down. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected. Mavis and I had a standing wine and reality TV night. I was okay. I was surviving. Many of you asked if my revenge went too far. After reflection, I stand by most of it. The silent departure. The pawn shop receipt. They were proportionate responses to the disrespect. The other acts, the case files, the draft email, the lipstick on the glass, they may have crossed into psychological warfare. But they were precise expressions of hurt. I don't necessarily recommend them, but I don't regret them either. What I did regret was not giving him a chance to explain before I executed my exit. One conversation might have revealed the truth sooner. And saved us both weeks of additional pain. That said, I wasn't sure it would have changed my decision to leave. A partner who would mock me to impress others, that reveals something fundamental about their character. So, that was 3 months ago. And I really, truly thought that was the end of the story. I was at peace with it. But, life is complicated. This will be my last post on this situation. Because there's been a resolution. Of sorts. Keith and we had several more conversations over the past few months. Not at coffee shops. Just walks in the park. Talking on the phone. Each one was more measured, more honest than the last. He's continued therapy. He's made significant changes. He let go of those toxic friendships. He actually changed jobs. He took a massive pay cut to work for a nonprofit, helping kids who get caught up in the legal system. He said he was tired of the person he had become. And I did my own work, too. I had to understand why I reacted with such extreme coldness. My own therapist helped me unpack a lot of it. A lot of it came from my parents' really messy, bitter divorce. My father had cheated, and my mother had been blindsided. It left me with a hair-trigger response to any kind of deception. About a month ago, he asked me out. On a date. Not as us, he said. Just as 2 new people. Can I just take you to dinner? I said yes. We're dating again. Cautiously. Very, very cautiously. We're not trying to rebuild what was broken. That house was built on a bad foundation. We're starting fresh. Building something new, from the ground up. Different rules. Different boundaries. Absolute, brutal honesty. It's hard. Some days, I look at him and all I can see is that man on the phone, laughing. Other days, I see this new person who is trying so hard. The ring, it remains with him. In a drawer. He told me he took it out the other day. He said he's not sure what it means anymore. It's not an engagement. It's not a promise. It's just a reminder of how easily something valuable can be lost through carelessness. I don't know if we'll make it, long term. I really don't. There's still so much work to do. Trust, it rebuilds slowly. Like a bone healing after a clean break. They say it's stronger at the fracture point, but it's forever marked by the injury. What I do know is this. I have zero regrets about how I handled the initial situation. The shock of my departure. The meticulousness of my response. It created the rupture. It was the only thing that could have blown up the facade so that something authentic could maybe grow in its place. Sometimes, relationships don't end because they're beyond repair. They end because they need to be completely demolished and rebuilt from the foundation up. He told me something interesting. The pawnshop owner, he recognized Keith when he came in to buy back the ring. He told Keith that I'd been completely stoic when I sold it. No anger, no sadness. Just calm determination. Keith said that image, the quiet dignity of someone who knows exactly what they deserve, that's what haunted him more than if I'd raged or cried. Whatever happens next, I intend to maintain that dignity. Not out of pride, but out of self-respect. Thank you all, one last time, for being witnesses to this chapter of my life. Your collective wisdom, your comments, a few of which I've read, it helped guide me through the darkest moments towards something I never expected. Not just survival, but growth. If you've ever been through anything like this, or if my story resonated with you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. I truly do read them all. It helps, knowing we're not alone in these struggles. And if you feel so inclined, a like on the video, or subscribing, it means more than you know. Thank you for listening. Be well.